everyone. Welcome to the Horror Rim. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I have a special guest with us. He's an author, and he has a new book that's out on Amazon right now, and it's called For the Gates Shall Open. I have with us James Compton. James, welcome to the Horror Realm.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, buddy.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. So
Very
tell us a little,
pleasure for me too.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about For the Gates Shall Open.
That's a hard. I don't know exactly how to start that. So this was a pet project for me that started. Oh God, I think it was probably about 13 years ago, and it started off as a very simple idea, and I didn't even really take it seriously initially. But I just kind of had like a moment where I had a scene involved in my head that sounded like a really cool idea, but I wasn't quite sure how to create a story about it. And it kind of sat in my head for probably a good 5 years before I actually developed a plot for it. So yeah, it's I don't know. It's been a journey. It's been a 15-year journey to get this book written.
Whoa. Now, you said it take 15 years. Now, I'm pretty sure the idea has changed. The storyline has changed over the time.
Yes, it has. Yes. Yeah, because the book originally, it just, me and my friend, I will be honest, me and my friend were doing psychedelics. And nice. I had a night where, yeah, sorry about that. But me and my friend were kind of sitting there, and I was on psychedelics one night. And it was kind of around a time where I was watching lots of influential movies like I Spit on Your Grave and those kind of very intense fucking movies. But I thought of this one scene in my head where people were in a cabin tripping on hallucinogens with a lot of lights and really cool music. And the original idea was what if you were tripping on hallucinogens and somebody just did a home invasion, but it was in a cabin in the woods? And I was like, how horrible would it be if you were in a cabin in the woods tripping with your friends, and all of a sudden it was kind of I Spit on Your Grave, home invasion type thing. And that idea kind of stuck with me a little bit. But I didn't really, as the years went on, I was like, well, that's a really cool scene. But I didn't really know how to create a plot with it. But that was kind of the original egg. It was that concept. So what I will tell you is I'm a fan of very extreme horror. I love the French Revolution that happened in the early 2000s with High Tension, Frontiers, Martyrs. But I also like psychedelic type things, so this book is a concentration of all that. So it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I really, my whole envision of this was to make something very fucking scary, from beginning to end, and I don't know. I guess that's all I can say right now.
I love it, man. I love it. So what were you tripping on? Shrooms, LSD, what?
Shrooms.
So I've never done shrooms, man. I mean, I had a friend that one time he was big drug Jim, if you watch it. Listen, but he offered me some shrooms, and I was like, because I've only done marijuana, and I was like, well, what is that high is like? And he goes, well, if you take this, you're going to have to spend the night or probably the day here, because you can't just leave on this. I'm going to lock the doors. And, he's explaining to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'll pass on that.
You're I'm not going to do that.
I've got fucking shit to do. But that's fascinating. But because one of the movies that I love recently, you talk about psychedelic movies, Mandy with Nicolas Cage. Have you seen that one?
Yes, I love that movie.
Love it. I got Funko Pops up over there and everything. I absolutely love that movie. By the way, listen, I'm not saying to do shrooms, but if you want to do some 420 and watch a good horror movie, watch Mandy on High.
It's agree. Amazing. Wholeheartedly
amazing.
Agree.
It's amazing. It's intense. So writing this book. Okay, by the way, I'm doing a PSA. Drugs are bad for you. But listen,
They are. Trust me, they're very bad. They're very bad. They will do nothing but make your life bad. I promise.
but they're
But
fun.
if you do the right thing with the right people, it's not quite so bad. But yeah, they're bad. Drugs are bad.
But it's a horrifying thought of a story, because I cannot even imagine like being high on edibles or weed and something horrible happens like right now in my fucking house. Like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't know how to. I wouldn't know what to fucking do. You know what I mean? I say it all the time.
Yeah.
Like if I'm high, sometimes my whole house could be on fire, and I'm not even gonna have the energy to like move or anything.
Well, and the idea of my book, so my book basically deals with, like, the first half of the book is kind of, it's a very traumatic experience. It's about a young couple whose son is kidnapped when they take him to a Halloween amusement park. And then it skips forward a year after he's been kidnapped. And then on the year anniversary of his kidnapping, the people who took their son kidnapped them.
Ooh.
And that's where the hallucinogenics come into play. And it's a scary enough thing to envision dealing with horror elements while you're tripping, but they are forced to do this. And that's where the whole second half of the book takes place, is after they are confronted with their son's kidnapper, and he forces them to take hallucinogenics before he tells them exactly what's happening.
Holy shit.
And so I wanted to create a story for people who are not exactly good with reading or who get bored with reading. Because like every little part of my book, it just keeps intensifying, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and it keeps pulling your attention. And so I don't know if it's going to resonate with everybody, but like I'm a person who likes extreme horror. I don't get scared easily. So I wanted to create something that, like, as a horror lover, as a basic horror lover, I was like, I want somebody who's like, oh my God, what? You know, that's what I was trying to go for my whole book.
Now, was there any point in writing this book where you were like, oh my goodness, this might be too much?
Yeah. Well, this book has a lot of my life's trauma in it too. I named the main character after my childhood best friend who tragically died. So it's kind of like an honor to her. She's the main character. She's named after the main character. But yeah, I mean, I think the trend that horror is going in modern day is I think people want to be pushed a little bit. And so I wanted to create something that people were like, oh, fuck, you know.
Now, do you, as an author, do you pay attention to reviews at all?
Yeah, I do.
What's one review that you saw that really stick out in your head, good or bad?
I honestly, my brother's fiance, she read my book and she loves horror, and she contacted me like immediately after she got done. And this is a 2-part book. So I'm in the middle of writing the sequel, because my book does end on a cliffhanger. And my brother's fiance called me and she was like, you're an asshole for how you ended that book. She was like, because I need to know what the hell is coming after that. But she was like, you're so invested with the characters throughout the whole book. And she was like, I could see all of the thought process for all the characters. And I don't know, from what the feedback I've gotten, it was like, we need the sequel. So that was kind of like my whole intention with the whole thing. I was like, well, if people like it enough, I'll write the second one. Mm-hmm. And if they hate it, well, I don't have to write it. I already know what it is. But I think for me, honestly, I would write it even if people hate it. I would still probably write it. But from anybody who's read it at this point, they seem pretty interested in what's going to happen in the second one. So,
Was that your original intention 15 years ago for it to be a two-parter?
not a really, but when I first started getting serious about it, I knew that it was going to be a two-parter. So.
Now, because that has to be tough. Like, I mean, to write a story and knowing that there's going to be a second part. I mean, was that tough? That knowing that there's going to be a second part, and what am I going to leave in and what am I going to take out? Because I don't want to.
No, it wasn't hard because I there's so many little details throughout the story that I planned for the sequel. So no, it really wasn't hard, honestly.
Now, you brought up, extreme horror. Extreme horror right now is so popular. I mean, even in when it comes to in written form, like you got Spider Punk, you got body horror, you got some intense shit out there now. Do you think as horror fans, because we're asking for more and more blood and guts and fucked up shit, do you think we're becoming desensitized as a community when it comes to violence?
Oh fuck yeah, we are. Absolutely. But I think the important thing with things is you can be extreme, but I think it's important to add emotional elements to it. Because if it's just extreme with no emotional ties, that's where the desensitization happens. And so I think it's important that if you want to go extreme, you need to make people really fucking feel what they're gonna be dealing with. So my whole thing with writing my book was you've got to be emotionally invested, and it's got to not be cheap violence and violence for the sake of violence. Every bit of violence in my book, I needed to know that there was a reason for it, and not just like it's just violence for the sake of violence.
And I agree. Listen, I'm a huge horror fan. I like, all kinds of subgenres, but what you're saying, when it comes to intense horror, right? And there's a big one I'm not going to say anymore on my show. But like, and I've always said, like, I don't have a problem with those movies. It's just that there's violence for no reason at all. Like, you got to have some kind of character development, some kind of storyline to tie into those violence. I need to feel something besides when I see, somebody get hacked up with a chainsaw or something. I need to feel something. I need to feel sorry for the character. I need to feel bad. You can't just have people just getting killed in a movie. But it seems like that seems like the new horror fans, they enjoy. They don't care about character development. They don't care about backstories. They don't care about nothing but just random gruesome shit thrown on the screen or on pages. And like, that's not my kind of horror.
It's not, and that's my I would say probably one of my favorite horror movies is Martyrs, if you've heard of it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's a French movie. So that movie, I mean, I know some people will argue that it's still like just kind of gratuitous for gratuitous sake, but I was like, but the plot line of that movie is very emotional. It's very deep, very intense, and there's reasoning behind everything that's happening. And I think that's a very important part. I mean, if you're going to go balls to the wall with the violence and the degradation and everything, there's got to be reasoning behind it other than sadism. And so that's what I really tried to focus on with my book, is I was like, and most of the violence doesn't happen until the second half of the book. But there's a purpose for every violent act in that book. It's not just to be mean. There's a purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it scarier.
It does. Yeah. I mean, like you brought up High Tension. That movie is violent. It's visceral, but there's there's emotion behind it. You know what I mean? There's emotion in it, and like,
Yeah, that movie is about a sick, twisted love, and a
yeah,
love that you can't have, and so you're going to do whatever you can to make it happen. And
yeah,
that's, to me, that's scary. That's fucking
that's
scary.
terrifying. But like but like I've seen a lot of modern horror that it's just gore. It's just absolute gore, just going through boom, 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 and that's fun for like 20 minutes. That's funny for a short film. But like
Yeah.
you go into an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's just like okay. I've seen this all the possibilities somebody can kill somebody, but like what else is there that's boring after a while?
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, all I can tell you about my book is the violence. I mean, there's a little bit of violence in the beginning, and then the whole second half of the book is quite a lot of violence. But it all has a purpose,
And that's
and
good.
and that's all I can say is I thought that that's what would make it scary. Is the violence has a purpose.
I agree. Now, okay, so as a brand new author, indie horror author, right now, it's easy to get your stuff out there, whether it be indie films or even be an author. With self-publishing, Amazon, it's great stuff. What are some things that you have ran into that a new author who's thinking about, I'm going to write my first horror book, and they don't know about? What's some challenges?
I mean, it's a challenge just to get it out there. I mean, I've done TikToks, I've done marketing things, and it's kind of hard to just get yourself noticed, honestly. And it's hard to, I mean, because we're living in a messed up world, and we're all dealing with struggles, and we're all dealing with money struggles. So it's like we're in a time where it's hard to ask people to spend $10 on a book or $15 on a book. And it's hard to convince people just to be like, give it a shot, because most people don't really have that kind of expendable money at this point, so I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And I get that everybody's just trying to do their own thing, and everybody's trying to get recognized. So, like I said, I didn't really ever think I was going to do this, It kind of started off as a little fluke idea, and it stuck in my head, and it sat there for 10 years, and then I did it. And it took me a good few years to get it done. But it's hard to get people to kind of take a chance, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, even as a YouTube creator, I've been doing this for a little bit over a year now. It's hard because there's so much fucking content out there.
Yeah,
it's just so much out there. I mean, even when it comes to horror writing, I mean, now that we're self-publishing, there's so many authors out there, and like I can imagine it's tough to stand out.
It is. And so the mindset, I did this for me. I'm not, it's always been my dream to be an author. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I think it's important to at least do it for you. Yeah. And, and hopefully you got to have the perseverance to keep trying. I mean, I published my book back in May, and I got married a couple months ago, so it's been like a very busy summer, so I haven't been able to really do marketing a whole lot, but it's you got to put a lot of time and effort into trying to get the word out, trying to tell people about it. So there's a lot of hard things.
All right, so James, this is a horror channel, as you know. Every once in a while, I do this. I'm gonna ask you just 3 random horror questions. I want your personal opinion on them.
Gotcha.
All right. So the first question: who is the hottest final girl? Who do you find is the most badass, hottest final girl out of any horror movie?
Hottest final girl. I would probably say I would probably say Neve Campbell from Scream, or the girl from Terrifier 2 or 3.
Oh,
probably my hottest. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I agree. I'm in agreement on that one.
I'm so sorry I forgot her name, but the
Yes, her
girl
name is
is
I actually met her at one of the conventions. Her name is Lauren Laverne, I believe her name is.
Lauren
Her
Laverna.
character, yeah, Laverne. Nice lady. I met her. Got a picture of her. Awesome. Yes, hot.
Yeah, those would probably be my top two for American movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Second question is, what is one horror movie that you absolutely love that you think most people don't know about, and they should?
I would say The Loved Ones. It's an Australian movie.
Never heard of it.
Oh, go watch it. It's good. Well, I mean, it's good if you like kind of intense, messed up movie. But yeah, The Loved Ones. It's an Australian movie. That's one of my favorites.
Ooh. And that's on streaming?
Yeah, I think it should be.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out in like 2008 or 10.
All right, right.
Yeah, it's basically a girl who asks the guy to prom and he turns her down, and unfortunately for him, her and her dad are in an ancestral relationship, and then they kidnap the guy who turned her down, and it's like this whole torture thing, but also it's like a kind of creating zombies type movie. It's messed up.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Well, I'm gonna check that out.
So I would say, yeah, those are mine.
And the last question is, what is one horror movie that everybody says that they love, and you're like, it's okay. I don't. It's what's an overrated horror movie?
Overrated horror movie. Oh, that's a tough one. Oh, that's a good question. I wasn't prepared for that. Overrated horror movie. I think The Ring is an overrated horror movie.
Really, the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was influential, but as the years have gone on, and I've seen very good horror movies, I would say that was kind of my mediocre one, I think.
Okay.
It was influential for its time, though.
It was, because I saw it in the theaters. God,
but I still will say the one was better.
Yes, I agree. I'm agreeing with you on that one. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. That's a good one. All right, James, where can everyone find you and your book?
My book is available on Amazon and Kindle. It's called For the Gate Shall Open by James Compton, and that's where you can find it.
And find you on social media?
I do not have an author page. I've honestly, like I said, it's been a busy summer for me, so I do not have a Facebook page or like a Twitter page as of yet, but I will work on that.
Well, listen, James, I'm gonna grab a copy of your book, because your book sounds right up my fucking alley. So I'm gonna get a copy of that. Listen, everybody else, get over to Amazon, and is it on Kindle Unlimited as well?
It's on Kindle and Amazon. Yeah.
Okay. So listen, get your ass if you had Kindle Unlimited. Listen.
I hope you like it. Well. I'm writing the second one, so and it's only going to be a 2-part book. So
definitely grab your copy and support this indie horror author. James, it's been a pleasure having you on, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Really appreciate your time.
And I would love to have you come on when the second book is about to wrap up.
Yeah,
we can talk about that.
Okay.
All right, well, no problem, man. And listen, and for the second interview, I'm going to read the book, and then we can yes.
Well, that's what I was like. And unless you've read my book, I can't really talk about it too much. So,
yes. So we're going to have an in-depth conversation.
I very much appreciate your time. I really do.
It's no problem, my friend. Listen, everyone, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's James Compton. See you next time. Take care.
Thank you very much.